balancing mission and money. Where was I going with this? So now you know where you've been, to a certain extent, very broadly. You know where you are today, and the number one priority, and the second priority, unity, and then why. This is your roadmap, the beginning of your roadmap. Like taking your family on a trip, you start from Toronto or Oakville or Hamilton, and you need to know where you're going, because if you don't, chances are you ain't going to get there. You might get someplace more exciting, but... So, A is where we've started this morning. I have kinda mapped up your A in a broad, general sense, okay? You now need to refine that point A, because only you can do that through your individual organizations, because you are unique. That's as far as I can go without doing it one-on-one, all right? Now let's take a look at, when you do your why, you've got your destination, which is your B. Now let's take a look. Once you know your why, once you've developed your B, how do you build that bridge or that road that takes you from A to B? And that's what we'll be covering this afternoon. Some ideas, some pitfalls to look out for, some black ice that you want to avoid, etc. Again, in general terms, that you have to apply to your own situation. Make sense? Oh, don't go anywhere yet. Don't go anywhere, stop right there, yes. So tell me, now that we've defined board responsibilities, what boards of directors are all about, what leadership, inspirational, and strategic is, what is the purpose of a board? Speak so my mouth won't get dry. What do you think is the purpose of the board? Anybody? To lead, to guide, to govern, somebody was listening to me today. To inspire. I know I started slow this morning and I put you all to sleep. And the reason for that is because when somebody tells me I have to stand still in one spot, I get lost. When I walk, I find my way. So apologies for that. What else? To protect. Anybody else? No. Innovate. Second one was awaken listening. If you know your why, if you stand united, all you need to do is inspire, innovate, and integrate. And all these will naturally occur within that. Thank you. Is that not showing up? Nobody can see what I wrote, is that it? Okay. Because this will generate ideas that will fulfill the leadership. So will innovation. But more importantly, when you then integrate, integration is all about governing, guiding, leading, protecting. It all just then falls. But it's got to be integrated and aligned. And you keep going from one to the other. So if you remember nothing else, because I don't know about you, if you expect me to remember too much, I don't. But if you keep it simple, something I can often refer to, then the rest kind of starts to fall together. I'm not a computer, so my brain can only take so much. So if you forget, think, focus, the rest will naturally occur. So, purpose of the board, it's a mindset. It's what it is. Sorry. So, to guide, to influence, or persuade. Leadership is an inspired action, not a position. If you joined your board like some board members, volunteer board members do, because it looks good on your resume, because it advances you individually, I'll be blunt, you have no right to be there. If that's what it's all about. You have no right to be there. It's not about you. It's about the needs of your community and your organization. Yes, a fallout from that can be that it enhances your resume and your ability to gain better employment. But it must not be your primary reason, because you will fail and people will know, and it'll actually hurt you in the long term. A leader doesn't just react and respond, but rather takes the initiative and generates action. A leader doesn't say something should be done, but ensures something is done. That doesn't mean they have to do it themselves. An effective leader is a people person. You have to. Because who do you lead? It ain't ducks and dogs. It's people. Effective leaders connect, stay in contact with, and are highly visible to everyone in their team, in their organization, in their community. Leaders have developed skills of supercharging logic, data, and analysis with emotion, pride, and the will to win. I'm one of those people that captures things even when I'm at a hairdresser looking at a sports magazine. And this is what they said about hockey management and leadership, and I thought, I got to capture it for tomorrow. Leading is confidence in the face of gathering failure. An almost absurd, delusional belief that fate and momentum will turn despite every sign that it will not. Again, speaks to what was said before when we were being introduced, doesn't it? That fear, that courage. I thought, wow, I've got to remember this for future workshops. Okay. And I have more. Passion and enthusiasm, highly contagious. Fire imaginations, develop capabilities, build the confidence of the people at the micro to the macro level. Believe the impossible is possible. Lead the people. Manage yourself first. Because if you can't manage yourself first, how you speak, how you communicate, how you react, you cannot lead effectively. Make sense? Innovators. Because integrators means everything is integrated in your organization. Therefore, your oversight of finances, resources, fundraising, HR, IT, all need to be integrated. All will automatically occur the minute you think integration. Make sense? Because that's what you're integrating. Otherwise, you're not integrating nothing. You're not being an integrator. Your products, your services, your programs. All right. Next. Why boards micromanage? This is very typical of founder boards, where 10 years later the founders are still there, but also of working boards. A working board whose board members end up doing, managing, implementing out of need to develop that organization, and then they get so lost within that They don't ever evolve out of that role, even after the organization has grown. The biggest challenge I had was a national association came to me and said, come help us with our board. And they had 6 regional officers. They just hired an ED. They paid this individual $140,000 a year. And the board was micromanaging. And the ED was going nuts. The poor ED didn't know what to do, whether to commit suicide, whether to cry. Why did they pay this individual $140,000 if they were intent on doing it all themselves anyway? I said to him, take a holiday, 6 months. They won't know you're gone. Okay? That is a terrible but true example of not evolving with the time. I thought, can I take your job? You quit and I'll take your job. I'll be cushy forever, right? I won't have to do much work. Okay. No common overriding purpose unites you. That's why you end up micromanaging sometimes, because the doers in your group will go and do. The thinkers and innovators will clam up. And you have a dysfunctional board. Who micromanages? No sense of its role in the organization. No systems to guide that role. We all need a roadmap. If you don't have a roadmap, if you don't know where you are today, where you're going, where you've been, where you're going, you're out of control. Most people have no experience. The higher up we get in the executive ladder, the less positions there are, therefore the less people who lead. Stands to reason. Most of us have no experience in leading. Our real life experience of the majority of us is doing. Be aware of that. That does not mean that you cannot contribute if you're a doer, that there is no value in your opinion. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Sometimes there's more to the doer than there is to the leader. Okay? When I graduated as an engineer, engineers have a tendency to think they're the bee's knees. And the workers, the blue-collar workers at the factories or the plants, they don't know nothing. I became a good engineer, you know why? I believe that's why. Because my electrician was by far better than my electrical engineer. Man, when I had a problem, it was to him I'd run, not my electrical engineer. That electrical engineer would have done well to have learned from this electrician. Don't ever underestimate that which people are capable of as leaders based on the title they hold. The biggest mistake you could make as a leader. Remnants of crisis or a syndrome of founder boards. If an organization goes through a crisis, you lose your ED, you used to policy, and now all of you, or 2 or 3 of your staff walk off for some reason. I think that's giving you a message, but okay. Assuming that's not. They walk off on you. And now you're in a crisis. And some of those volunteers on the board roll out this. He says, it's okay. You know, I'm going to come in every evening at 5 after my day job and help us get over this crisis. And then their sleeves stay rolled up when the crisis is over. Fear that if they don't do it, no one else will, or no one else can. Only I can do it. Only I can do it well. As leaders, if you feel that, it is your responsibility to coach and mentor the person to do just as well as you. Any questions? So the journey is actually then about transformational leadership, isn't it? You may have to transform, evolve, rejuvenate your board, your organization, your board members. So let's talk about how do we go about doing that. Start with questions. Remember the children and why we lost our why as we progress through life. Leaders, 99% of the time, should do nothing else but ask why. Why is that? How come? What about this? What if? Not postulate, not talk till eternity. Start with what's working here, what's not working. What do we need to do about it? What are we missing? You can bring them all up, Nona. How does this help deliver against our vision? What questions should we be asking? When you don't know what to ask that question. Explore it together. We don't know what to ask. What should we be asking? When stuck, ask that question. Make sense? Directors add value to the board, not from the statements that they make, but by the questions they ask. Stop right there, Nona, don't go on to the next slide. What are the yes buts? Those are the last carriage people, afraid of change. I have an example here, which I want to point out to you. They say, we need to do this. Oh yes, but that's not in our budget. And it brings the innovation to a standstill, doesn't it? Oh, okay. As leaders, if you have a board member that is on the last carriage that you need to bring forward so they don't stop and interfere with your progress, creativity, innovation, when they say, oh yes, but it is not in our budget. Okay. Does it have to be in our budget? Is there another way that we can do it so it's not in our budget? Don't disregard them saying that it's not in your budget, because that in and of itself is a valid comment. But don't allow that to slam on the brakes of the train. You'll derail. Challenge them to help you overcome the challenge of the fact that it's not in your budget. Just because it's not in your budget doesn't mean you can't do it. Make sense? That's what leaders do. Challenge, ask, inspire. And we'll get into the integration in a bit. Okay, Nona? So what is your journey? Here's your next exercise. Now, I've given you a lot today. I've been all over. I've taken side trips. I'm aware of that. And then come back. I've detoured. I've smelled the roses along the way. And you're probably all sitting there saying, oh, this sounds like inspirational, innovative, and integrated board sounds like bloody hard work. But it isn't, I promise you. It'll actually be easier on you. You'll feel more pleasure, you'll feel more fulfilled, and you will accomplish more. Start small. Rome was not built in a day, as they say. So don't expect, if you need change, if you need revitalization, if you need to learn new skills, to do it overnight. Give yourselves in your organization a break. Start not by swallowing the steak, but by biting it a little bit at a time and chewing on each bite. Because if you try swallowing the whole steak, that's just as bad as not doing anything, right? So I will show you how to do that. Now, you have in the handouts making sure I haven't missed anything. 2 examples. It is called the action plan. So if you can pull those out. Does everybody? Sorry, we were going to hand them out. Thank you so much. Yes. Yes. I'm only human. I forget to. It's okay. You'll forgive me, won't you? Thank you. Yes. So you're going to be handed out 2 examples of an action plan and then a blank slate for your own organization. Always. Action plan. Now, I don't want you to develop an action plan with 10 actions. I'm not asking you to do that, so don't panic. Don't leave, please, thinking this is about the right time for me to go home. All right? I want you to go back and open the page on your handouts, the page with the questions. I want you to pick one of those questions and ask it of your organization. What can we do better? What are we missing? All right? That's the slide before this one. You know the questions? That's in the slide handout. The slide handout. Can you go back, Nona? Oh, you, okay. It's hard when you're not in control of your own slides. These, right here. So if you're stuck and you don't know where to start, pick one of those questions and try to answer it via an action that you will take back to your organization to do. See what I'm saying? So what are we missing? What have we been missing? Think of something that you feel is a weakness in your organization that you want to take a bite of. So small chunks. Can we move the thing forward again? Yeah. So start by creating maybe a list of 4 to 5 answers to some of those questions, and then pick one that you think is really strong, right? Now, if you take a look at the 2 examples, may I borrow yours? I've tried to give you 2 examples here of 2 different things that you can write down. What I'm asking you to do is where it says strategy 1, demonstrate representation of the wider membership served. I thought of UCC. We need to understand the membership that we serve better, and therefore demonstrate that. So that is the bite that could answer one of those other previous questions. And then you're going to write down, what is the action? The action is to identify demographics of current members. And then explain what that action is. And look at how when you integrate it, everything works out. You're going to have to think of resources. You're going to have to think who's responsible for that. You're going to have to measure your success. How do you know you've achieved that then? That's integration. That is being integrated and strategic. You're thinking of everything already. So I've given you just 2 examples I picked out of the air because I don't know you individually as organizations well enough, okay? This is just to guide you. So what I want you to do is to then fill out at least 1 per organization. 1 action that you're going to take back and do as a leader. These are just some suggestions of the steps you can go through to get you to that 1. Or you might be lucky enough and be able to jump to the 1 right away. You look puzzled. Just blind. Okay. I don't want you to be confused, that's all. Is that clear? This will probably be as challenging to you as was the why. Something that you're not used to doing, right? Right? Pick 1 thing. 1 small thing that you can take away today and start when you go back to your organization. It could be to say, I'm going to call all those other community agencies that do the same why as I do and ask them when they would like to get together so we can discuss this. How we can collaborate or partner or unite. That could be 1 simple strategy. What are the actions involved with that? What are the resources that you need other than your time? Maybe you're in slightly different parts of the country and maybe someone's up in Thunder Bay and they're going to have to stay overnight. There's that cost, right? So think about, this is what I'm going to do. How am I going to make it happen? What do I need to think about? Make sense? Now is it clearer? And we'll be around to help you. All right, so shall we get back on track? Oh, I'm 5 minutes early, but that's okay. One speaker, please. Thank you. How did you find that exercise? Challenging? More challenging or less challenging than the why? Fine? Fun? Were you all able? Was there anybody who did not get one action or strategy written down for their organization? No? Everybody got at least one? Excellent. So now I want to challenge you even further before I leave this exercise. Personal action plan. Part of the handout. Remember how I said you have to manage yourself first? This is where we're at right now. At the bottom of that handout where the action plan was, now I've put we, but in that we, you can scratch it out and put I. Or you can leave it as the royal we. You as an individual, the last page of the handout action plan sheets that were handed out today. The very last page, you have the personal action plan. Remember, in one of the slides I said you have to manage yourself first. I also said you have to lead. You lead as a group, as the board of directors, but you also lead as individuals, and sometimes, if your chair's a little bit asleep at the wheel, it might take another board member to start leading, right? The change. So you, as an individual, have to find out what can you do to start that movement, to start building that road. So this is not about your organization now. This is about you. What can you do? What will you commit to help your board achieve that action plan? This is something I want you to take away and go home. And the next board meeting, you come prepared to show by your actions, not your words. Something. Don't have to say what it is you're doing. You shouldn't. Because leading is not about just speaking like that and postulating, right? So what can each one of you do? That's your individual homework, okay? Any questions regarding that action plan or anything like that? Can we move on to the next one? And by the way, if there are any questions, which there haven't been, but I was going to say this also, there has been a group set up on our website called the Ukrainian Canadian Workshop Group. Any questions, any clarity on what was discussed here only, either Nona, myself, and Keith, you can go register on our website, ask to join the group, pose the question if you're not clear on something. That will be up and running by next Wednesday. That's our commitment to you. And then we will answer the question for all of you to be able to see the question and the answer. So you can all share on each other's experiences and challenges. Now, you can't bombard us with like 100 questions a week. Reasonable and only as it pertains to what we discussed today. Yes?
Sorry, which website?
Our website. You go in there and you'll see register. And then you pick, I want to be a general member. And then you'll see the groups right there and you'll say, I asked to join this group. The group for this workshop will be up and running by Wednesday. The materials, the video, and everything I've said today will be written out. So the speaker's notes will be there too. And some of the things I didn't say because I had to cut short. Because I was slow this morning. It is a Saturday. All right? And you can interact with each other. These organizations that need to come together, maybe you can start there. On your own. It's open, it's free. Take advantage if you want. Don't if you don't. Rightio, next one. Keep losing my notes. What's the one before? Where am I at? In sync, okay. Now, how do you integrate, which is what in sync is all about? Being synchronized, integrated, cohesive. This applies to everybody, but especially to boards who are working boards, who have been micromanaging, all right? Because this is going to be your biggest challenge. 7 key tools to assist your board move from an operational to a strategic board. I'm not going to go read through all of them, but develop a strategic plan that really works. That's not enough in and of itself. I've explained to you that being inspirational leadership is about inspiration and strategy. And that is why a lot of strategic plans fail. If you bring someone in, they facilitate a strategic plan and a board retreat for a day, and you all go away, what happens next? You all know what happens next. Nothing changes. You're lucky if you implement 25% of the strategies that you wasted your good Saturday in that board retreat on coming up with. That in and of itself is not good enough. All right? You have to live that strategy. You have to do that reiterative process that I covered this morning. As inspirational leaders, how you keep challenging, questioning, adjusting the strategy, coming back. That strategic plan should be changing. If you're in dire straits, almost every 3 months, you should be changing those strategies, invigorating it, evolving it as you go. And for board members, your strategy should fit on 1 page. All your strategic goals and objectives should fit on 1 page. Should cover resources, strategies, goals and objectives. You don't have time for anything else because you want to be innovative and inspirational and integrated. If you happen to read 10 pages, you're not doing what you should be doing. Your strategic plan should be in 1 page and have everything you need at your fingertips. Right? And at your side every time you sit down for a board meeting. Structure your board's agenda and reports that come to the board such they are strategically focused. So if you take a look at some of those, that action plan, you could pick any one of these maybe and start there, if that would help you. Changes. I've been to board meetings. I went to an organization whose budget, non-profit, was $856,000. I managed a multi-million-dollar hospital. Do you think I had time to read through accounting reports? I'd be lost. As an engineer, I was responsible for Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore. Did I have time to read 3 countries' detailed financial reports? I'd be lost. I wouldn't have been successful. Yet this $850,000, again, I got asked to come in, sort of audit their board, sit there. I looked at it, 26 pages. I said, for $850,000? Good Lord, what have you got here? It was the chart of accounts. Everything. These are the boards. The board members, when it got to reading the financial reports, they didn't look at it. When they did, they didn't understand it. One board member said, can't we consolidate these somehow? No, we've always been doing it this way. And this board member, who had so much to offer, said, oh, okay. See the danger of where that can lead you? You should have 4 pages. 1 for the income statement, 1 for the balance sheet, 1 for your cash flow, and 1 for the number of clients you're servicing. That's it. 4 pages is all you need. When you become good at reading them, if you're not. And don't depend on your accountant if one sits on your board. I caught one stealing from the organization just last year, a not-for-profit. The new Canadian Not-for-Profit Corporations Act, oh boys. You better have the right financial reports. They give you more freedom, but with more freedom comes more responsibility, more liability. Okay? Use ongoing, lead by asking the right questions. We've covered that. Use ongoing board evaluations. Evaluate and assess. They are cheap. Email me. You know, go on the group. Ask me to give you a board assessment, and I'll give you the mini one, or I can give you the big one. And you can all give that to your members and assess how well you're doing. Or Google it. There's lots of resources like that out there. Assess your board as a whole, but don't be shy to assess yourselves individually too. Because leadership sometimes has to have the courage to kick butt when it's needed, to speak when it's needed, to remain silent when it's needed. And sometimes silence speaks more than 1,000 words, right? Develop KPIs for your CEOED if you have one, such that they reflect your key strategies, so you can monitor their performance, so you can make sure that they're aligned with you. This is not micromanaging. This is being in sync, making sure you are in sync, making sure that if you're not, that you can reach out and help that individual. Or if that individual feels you, the board's not in sync, they can reach out and help you become in sync. All right? Use the mission, vision of the organization to unlock strategy. Your why, your why, your why, your why. And, sorry? Key performance indicators of some sort. Utilize risk as a strategic tool to unlock hidden potential. Don't be afraid of risk. With risk come great gains. Don't I know it? If you don't take risks, you don't reap the rewards. Calculated risks, informed risks, intelligent risks, not airy-fairy, fly-by-night risks, but don't be afraid to take them. Make sense? Board structure, oh yes, board structure, not one of my favorite. So you know I do not believe in prescribing a model. You saw what has happened with the evolution of the models, right? I will say this about your existing boards today. Our workforce is changing. We are retiring, people like me, not that we'll ever retire. We will always have our finger somewhere, in some pot, some pie, because that's who we are, right? But the new generation, there's a lot of us. For every 2 of me that retires, we're being replaced by 1. That's scary. Folks, that is scary. That is very, very scary. For me, it is. The strength of Canada, the province, our businesses, our not-for-profits, I can't even begin to comprehend the impact of that. Now, luckily, we've got the immigration and all that will hopefully mitigate some of that. But as board members and leaders, I see most of you here are either close to my age, or even older. I see one young man, your future right there. And by his intelligent questions, an amazing future leader that you need to nourish and develop, let me tell you. Sorry. I'm getting there. Don't panic. All right? By the questions that were asked and everything that was said. You have 2 young girls here. 3. All right, any more young men or young women around here before I get myself into any further trouble? Good try. All right, maybe he stuck out more. You stuck out second. Hides his age. I know you from somewhere though. Oh, I know from a meeting. Yes. Oh, I know he's a leader. I've met him before. That's why. He looked familiar. By the questions that were asked. Do you see that? When you ask, you start to show that leadership, right? Don't be afraid. Even, you know what? No question is a stupid question if you do not know the answer. Don't ever allow anybody to tell you that. If you postulate and know the answer, and you pose the question to show how intelligent you are, then it's a stupid question. Make sense? Yes?
I have a question actually. What do you advise about, like, considering that many of us do have the same objectives, and in the future, if we wanted to consolidate our organizations, what kind of advice would you have for us for that?
Ooh, that is a loaded question, isn't it? That is one parking lot, Nona. Because that one is not something I can answer just like this. Can you put that one on the parking lot? That's a question, since there are many of you here in that situation, that I will provide the answer for on the website. Because knowing now a little bit of you and what I've seen here, I'm going to think about that, how you can start in a sane manner, what should be your first baby steps. Is that okay? Not only that, but I'm conscious of the time. I don't want to try to, off the cuff, something as important as that, and as deep and broad as that, by trying to off the cuff. It's like a politician. Never been good at politics. All right? That's the challenge that you have tomorrow. How do you bridge the gap between all of you that sit on the boards of those organizations? You can have your whys. You can have your funding. And as you get older and you're not going to be able to come to those board meetings, and you haven't bridged the gap with those young people all present here, who's going to follow in your steps? And all your work will come undone in one fell swoop. To do that, you, as the present leaders, have to change. You, it's your responsibility to understand them. It's your responsibility to respect who they are and to respect the fact that they are different and have been raised differently from you. Their experiences in life are different. That which has made them who they are is very different from what made you who you are today. And you must first learn and understand that as a leader. That is your responsibility. Only then can you start to bridge that gap. It's not theirs to understand you, it's theirs to challenge. Youth has always challenged. Youth has always brought our future. Youth in my country were always the first to uprise during our dictatorship because they are fearless. So board structure. Somebody said to me that, what would you say about when there is covert and overt operations on a board? Won't say who of you said that. One of you asked me, what should I do when there's overt and covert operations occurring on our board? Very common, isn't it? Not just on your board, but within your organization. Some of your board members could covertly socialize with your ED that could be detrimental to the rest of the board. Not uncommon. You're not alone. You're not unique. It's actually very common. Politically correct way to say it is the formal and informal governance. I've given you the explanation of it. As leaders, you must be aware of that. You must respect that. You must understand that, because I think since the time of Adam and Eve, we have had covert and overt operations in the human race, at all levels. Don't fight it. Fight that which you can win. Learn to play by the rules with that which you can't. Make sense? So I'll leave you to read that on your own. It's 3 o'clock. I should be rushing through this one. What's the next one? So, why won't I dictate a model to you? Why won't I tell you what your structure or operations should look for? Because if I were to ask you, who are you? Who are these people that came here today? Who are your organizations? Your answers will be as diverse as your organizations and as the people you represent. It will depend on your size, your location, your sector, whether you're not profit or a registered charity, population you serve, the culture, the financial stability, blah, 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 on and on and on. So following these couple of slides here, and you can all read, so I'm not going to be rude by reading any more slides by slide. If you quickly want to go, I go through core leadership practices, things to focus on. all right, that will allow your structure and your model to evolve in and of itself. Now, notice I've written conflict of interest, I've written adopt a whistleblower policy, and you're all looking at me saying, whistleblower policy? In the not-for-profit sector? Where are you getting that from? Are you forgetting where you're operating? No, I'm not. Like I said, I've seen board members steal, I've seen bookkeepers steal too, in the not-for-profit organizations. All right? And folks, where you come from doesn't matter. You're a human being, an animal of a sort on this earth. And I've come across it in all the cultures, in all the sectors, private, non-profit, and public. I will let you know. It's the sad part of the human race. The bad and the good, always. So do that, because in this situation, the bookkeeper knew that the accountant on the board, who's supposed to be providing financial expertise, was stealing. She knew, but she knew she couldn't say anything.
Why?
Because this individual was very tight with the board. She feared losing her job. She was a single mom with a boy. There was nothing she was going to do to jeopardize that and raise that child. And there was no way for her to anonymously provide that information. You got to understand that. She didn't even know whom to trust. She was so shocked. That was the last thing she expected, someone stealing for a not-for-profit. She was so shocked she didn't know who to trust. So do consider that. Code of conduct, I talk about duty of care, duty of loyalty. Those are more US, those of you who, yes, they come more from the US. But in today, maybe your code of conduct policy could be more specific about the duty of care and the duty of loyalty. The duty of loyalty, in part, is conflict of interest and be loyal to your organization. Don't put yourself in a position. Don't steal secrets from the not-for-profit. Don't use what you know with the not-for-profit for your own gains. I've also seen that happen so much, all right? And a duty of care is to abide by the laws of the land and your own bylaws. Attend meetings regularly. Come prepared. If you're not going to prepare before you come to the meeting, why bother showing up? You hold people down. Stay home. I don't want you there. If you're going to be asking why for all the wrong reasons, don't ask it. Next, meeting practices. Next, money matters. Charity begins at the office. I know that you will say to me, why should I be giving my money? I already give so much of my time, and we respect that. Doesn't mean you personally have to give money. If you can, do it. Lead by example, but if you can't, how many of you work in the private sector somewhere? Hands up. I won't even ask where, because boys, if you're not giving. Today, the big thing is social responsibility. The gentleman at lunchtime spoke of that. Most organizations, if you need a big fundraiser, if you're in a crisis or something, and you go to your boss or CEO or CIO or CFO or whomever you want to go to in your private sector, and you say, can I send an intranet email to all of my colleagues? The not-for-profit I sit on the board is struggling. They lost funding. We stand to close down a program. Can I run a fundraiser in-house? And you know what happens? Most of them will say, we'll give dollar for dollar of what you raise. Where have you all been? Where have you all been? Asleep at the wheel. Asleep at the wheel. All right. Next. Financial practices. I don't have to read it. Legal responsibilities. Do make yourself familiar if you are a national organization with the new Canadian Not-for-Profit Corporations Act, the CNCA, and what implications it might have on you. Like any legislation or law, there are loopholes. Be strategic. I love loopholes. I am challenged to find them. All right? And more importantly, ensure that you're compliant with it afterwards. Because right now, off the top of my head, it is the end of the day. It is a Saturday. I worked all week. One of them, and I cannot remember if it's the Ontario or the Canada one, says that they will assume you to be compliant, and if you're not, you will lose your registration. Is it the national one? Thank you very much. I've been going through the two, back and forth, and I couldn't remember which was which. So the national will assume you to be compliant. Places the onus is on you, the board of directors, to be compliant. If not, and they find out you're not, they take away your registration. You cannot practice as a not-for-profit anymore. They'll close your door just like that. Tight economic times. The government, politicians, like to look for reasons to close you down or not provide you with funding in a politically correct way. They hide like moles, in other words, and come at you from behind. Any government people here? I should have asked that first. Now, I'm just kidding. Remember, they're under the scrutiny of the public eye. That's why they do that in that manner. I'm not saying that for being disrespectful. I understand the horrible environment they have to balance and operate in. So I made a joke of it, but it's a light joke. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Imagine if you're under the scrutiny of that. And that's it. Keep the dream alive. I leave you with a parting thought from United Way. It's not how many worms the bird feeds its young, but how well the fledgling flies. The fledgling being your organization. I hope from deep in my heart that I've been able to help you. I hope that you will make some steps forward to strengthen each and every one of your organizations. It was a pleasure being here today, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I thank you for taking the time out to assist Keith Duncan, whom I've apologized profusely for not introducing him at the beginning like he didn't exist. Our Director of Technology-Enabled Services, because he's here under a different role. He's here to audit me as part of our internal audit system. That's why he was talking to you. So my apologies, Keith. Any questions? Sorry, no, you come on right up, Raya. If you want to shut me down, you. Because I'm conscious of the time. And, yeah. No questions, no. Like I said, you can go online and post the questions. If after you read this material, you'll see my speaker's notes. You can always do that relevant to this, though, right? Because we wouldn't be here tomorrow if we were to divide ourselves up too much and answer too many questions outside of this. We wouldn't be able to earn a living. And we all have families too. Keith, myself, Nona, you know. So, but we're more than happy to answer any in relationship to this workshop and help you. Okay.
On behalf of everyone here, Elisabete, I want to thank you and your team for giving us a full day of awareness and confirmation. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
I'd also like to thank Christine Kuzik, who I must say almost single-handedly pulled this whole session together, and we are truly grateful to you. Thank you, Christine. And as well, Lada. Oh, Lada, you're back. Lada and Oksana, who are with the Ukrainian Catholic Education Foundation, who were helping us all day today and even several days before. Thank you very much. We ask that you help us plan for the next steps so that we can plan for where we go from here by completing the yellow evaluation form, and you can leave them on the tables and we'll collect them. We also recycle, unless you want to keep the Ukrainian Jewish lanyard. You can leave them on the tables and we'll collect them as well. And since the theme that came out of this day talks about bringing communities together and speaking with one voice, I'd like to call on Taras Zaluski, the Executive Director of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, for final words.
Thank you all for taking a very substantial part of your Saturday to be with us here. We thought that this meeting came as a result of the effort of a lot of people, and I wanted to thank everyone who was involved in the organization, thank our presenters. But most importantly, this is about building. This is about building our community, the one that we all care enough about, that we were able to spend a Saturday of our time on things that we work on, that we believe in. And with regard to your commitment to the community, it goes without saying that we all reinforce one another. We make ourselves stronger. That was the theme of the sessions today. Through the UCC, through our office, our structure, our organizations, we have any number of committees. We encourage you to get involved in those areas where you have a passion, where you have an interest, to get involved, to help build our community, to make it stronger. And if you need any help in your organization, your branch, your area of interest, please do not hesitate to call upon us either at our Ottawa office or our Winnipeg office to help out. And if you have any federal needs, requirements, or worries or concerns, please do take the time to call me, drop me an email, because we can do a lot of things together. This was a great initiative that was done with UCC and the Ukrainian Catholic Education Foundation. When we can work and do these types of initiatives where we can all benefit, we're all stronger as a result. You may all have received the emails about the new UCC branch that was created this morning, and we're working on initiatives to build our capacity and to build our strength, and we can only do that if we work together. So I wanted to take this last opportunity to thank everyone, and just hope that we can keep building on this in the future. Thank you very much.